Welcome to our special bonus episode of the Flicks Forum podcast with Jesse, Heater, and MJ. We recently put a poll on social media asking our followers which recent Netflix film they would like to discuss. Or they'd like us to discuss. The overwhelming result was Netflix's 103rd film, the 2018 teen romance To All the Boys I've Loved Before. It's directed by Susan Johnson, starring Lana Condor, Noah Centineo. I'll stuff this up. Centineo?
You should have been close enough.
I practiced this. Enough. Noah Centineo.
Just call him Noah.
Noah. Oh man, I did have that down pat. Janel Parrish, Anna Cathcart, Andrew Bachelor, Tezzo Mahoro, Madeline Arthur, Emilija Baranac, Israel Broussard and John Corbett. Wow, big cast list. Welcome to the show, boys.
Thanks, mate.
It was exciting to hear you say bonus episode, but it was, I reckon, more exciting hearing you say 103rd episode. I'm so used to hearing, this is the 12th Netflix film. This
is Noah Centineo.
There we go. You got it. Hey.
I got it. I worked it out.
Were you just reading the cast list until you got to John Corbett? Because that was a long list.
It was a long list. And I was going to cut
one.
it out, and then I was like, I don't want to cut people out if people think they're good characters. So stuck with the full list.
No, fair enough. We did well.
It's good. Good to being doing things a little bit out of order, I guess.
We should preface, I know we've been doing this in our other podcast, but we will be spoiling the film. If you are someone who hasn't seen this film and want to watch this film, give it a go and watch it prior to listening to us, because we'll probably ruin it.
Definitely will.
I'd say we will. So we start our show off with a section called Fast Flicks, where we go around the table and do a quick summary of the film. Heater, kick us off today.
Thanks, mates. All right, so a teen girl's life is turned upside down when her secret love letters she had written to 5 boys over the years are mailed out to them.
Good, short, sweet.
That's what happens.
MJ.
A bubbly modern-day take on a stale fairy tale format. We go inside the mind of a quiet, love-struck junior as she gets catapulted into social high school relevance with the shock release of her secret love letters.
Nice. I've gone with a young girl writes a bunch of letters to boys she's had feelings for, with the intention of no one ever seeing them. These letters get out, and to help with the fallout, the good-looking jock of the school offers to be her pretend boyfriend. The only issue is, how long can this fantasy last?
Oh, you're back to asking questions.
Love asking questions in your Fast Flicks.
You know what's funny? We all mention the love letters, right? And
well,
I think
I specifically didn't write. I said boys she had feelings for.
But we all reference the fact that she wrote these letters.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you watch the trailer, or I'm sure the synopsis anywhere you read, it's going to reference them. This struck me, this is actually the second time I watched this film. It struck me both times how little relevance the letters actually have to anything in the story, to her relationship with anyone. If nothing else, it's a catalyst for starting maybe the conversations with these guys. But I remember the first time thinking, these love letters are just going to keep coming back and smacking her in the face. And I actually really like the fact that, yeah, they happen, but we're not going to base a whole story on it. It's just a nice little differential to any other sort of rom-com.
It was a good catalyst, yeah, you say, for it to have a do it. I guess when I kind of started watching, I kind of figured like the letters would come out and the whole school would have them, and she'd be teased, and like she wouldn't be able to go to school because all of her classmates knew about the letters and stuff like that. So I actually enjoyed the way it went down a lot better than I guess
me too.
What I was thinking was going to happen.
I think everyone thinks it's going to be like the burn book in Mean Girls. It's just going to explode.
Yeah, and the letters were the basis for all the relationships, though. Like, allowed for the relationship with the sisters. It allowed for the relationship with these boys. Yeah, they did, while they maybe weren't referenced a lot, they were that underlying sort of catalyst.
Yeah, you're right. And I think to Heater's point, that's kind of why I thought it was done better, because I think most people will think the same thing, that here's a story about a girl who writes these letters, and then the letters get out. Everyone's like, oh, God, this is going to be social... like social suicide.
One of those ones,
No, it's not, and it's all kept pretty well under wraps.
All right, so let's have a chat. We always talk about some things that we've learned about this film, or some facts about it. Heater, you're our favourite host with these. Fill us in with what you got.
Oh, the big one is it's based on a novel by Jenny Han.
Correct, 2014.
Yeah.
So the novel, it was optioned by Will Smith's production company, which I thought was pretty cool as well. So he obviously knew that there was a bit of a market for this to be adapted.
I think that was because, from what I can gather, a lot of studios that wanted to adapt this film wanted to change Lara Jean's character to a white American girl as opposed to keeping her Asian American.
Yep.
And Jenny Han, to her credit, was just like, no, that's not going to happen. So, yeah, Will Smith and the company Overbrook Entertainment were the ones that came on board and said, no, we're all in. Let's do this, and then it became legit.
The other thing, sort of to follow on from that, is that the author also copped a bit of flack about. So yes, she stood by the Asian American actress, but then she copped a bit of flack for it. All the males being white as well. So it's like a lose-lose situation.
It's a hard one, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, and I think she said that's the book that she wrote, right? That's the story that she wrote, and maybe she wanted to try and relate to a character that maybe was her back in the day, and that's how it panned out. So I think you got to give her credit for sticking with her guns in the first place. How tempting would it be if someone's like, hey, we're going to make your movie into a book, we just got to change one character. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, here we go. This is awesome.
Heaps of people would do that as well.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So credit where credit's due. And I think I love the fact that this released 2 days after Crazy Rich Asians, obviously by pure chance, but it just supports that whole, Asian renaissance of Hollywood that's happening. And what Crazy Rich Asians was the first film in 25 years, first American film in 25 years to have an all Asian cast. Mm-hmm. So it's a nice little pairing with that to really show. And what's her name? Lara Condor, who plays Laura Condor, who plays Lara Jean, was excellent in this, and it would have kind of almost felt weird if she wasn't who she was. So
yeah. So it's a book and a trilogy. So there's 2 other books. So they've already started filming the sequel.
Yeah, the whole cast is returning. They've said,
P.S. I still love you.
Yeah.
When I was reading that, I was like, that's been done.
I definitely got confused about that, going, hang on, that's a movie already out, isn't it? And it took me a few guys reading and going, hang on, there's an extra word in there.
That's clever. It plays into the fun vibe that this film and I guess this series eventually is going to all be about.
But did you see I haven't read the books, but did you see what the sequel's about?
Yeah.
The dude that rocks up on the door at the end.
Yeah, the guy who's going to come in and cause havoc.
John Ambrose.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess there's that need to continue that story, I guess.
So the guy who played him actually auditioned for the role of Peter?
Yeah, Peter.
Yeah. The scene where Kitty offers Peter that Yakult, so it led to a
I've got this down, because I knew you'd
led to a spike in sales of Yakult.
So what was your thought about the product placement in general?
To me, I knew what it was, but I didn't think that they were flogging that it was Yakult. Really.
They hit it pretty well.
So I thought that was good. There are a couple of other product placements.
They talked about the product a lot, though.
Yeah, they did, but they called it Korean
yogurt or something.
Yeah, they didn't call it...
To go to your point, I think 3 weeks after the film was released, the shares in Yakult had risen 2.6%.
Some good stats to follow it up.
That's great,
After it had been declining the previous few years.
It got a massive rise.
So we talk about product placement a lot in this podcast, but this just goes to show that it's beneficial for everybody to get involved.
There was another product placement, which I think you guys probably picked up on.
I turn a blind eye to it.
No, Subway.
I had your call.
Oh, yeah, Subway.
That's true,
Pretty significant.
So, literally, she's got that text coming up on the screen, and she's even got, emojis with, little Subway logo on it. And then at the end, they're eating Subways under the bleachers as well. So
How much did you want to have a sub after watching this as well?
No.
A sub with a side of your Yakult.
Couldn't think of a worse combination. Yuck.
I would have had some Subway cookies.
Another thing that I saw was that the letters that were seen in the movie were actually physically written by the actress Lana. So during a lunch break, she wrote several copies as they ripped them up throughout the film and stuff like that. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, how often that would happen. There's obviously lots of handwriting.
The prop department would probably look after that. But no, so I thought that was cool.
Really slumming it. I like it. I tried to really look to see. We know that Netflix is really coy about releasing any kind of data around ratings. And when you have a podcast that's dedicated to Netflix films, that's a bit of a pain, a bit of a bugbear for us. But this being such a big film, they did come out, and I think we learnt this when Bird Box came out, that Netflix kind of only talks about their ratings when they've got a good story to tell.
Yep.
But they did mention that this was the most viewed original Netflix film at the time it was released.
Okay.
they sort of estimated that around 80 million subscribers had seen it.
Wow.
This is worldwide,
Yeah.
of course. Not, we're in Australia. What's our population? Late 20 mils?
Yeah,
Around?
25 or so.
Yeah, so obviously got a huge. I think they said Bird Box got like 200 million or something like that, and then everyone's like, Netflix, ain't you lying?
That sounds crazy.
But then it got to the point where it's actually the second most rewatched movie on Netflix, behind Kissing Booth, which is number 1, which I'm not particularly familiar with, but I have heard of.
I think it's a similar sort of market or target audience.
Same audience.
After,
yeah.
Similar timing as well, I think, that whole Summer of Love that they released.
Yeah, they
at
released.
Time,
Yeah. So the consensus and the reception of this film,
it's really good.
Pretty positive,
Real
from
positive.
critics.
97% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's huge.
Wow.
And that's off 61 reviews, so it's not like it's only a couple. Like that's big. And audience score of 87%. So really big.
Yeah, all the reviews I saw, real positive. Really enjoyed it.
That's the thing. That, like, you can understand how this film would really appeal to your general moviegoer, but the critics really got behind it as well. And I think with good reason.
Yeah.
But it was very popular, and that translates to people wanting to watch it, and the sequel getting made, and
7.3% on IMDb, which is also pretty high.
that's very high. Yeah.
3.5 on Letterboxd, which is about a 7. So yeah.
Did you notice that Letterboxd had more ratings than IMDb?
I didn't. No.
Letterboxd being obviously more of a movie-going kind of app or website for people, but interesting to see.
Had more.
Yeah,
Oh,
I counted just under 60,000 ratings.
Whew, that's huge.
For Letterboxd, which is crazy.
There's only 4,000 on IMDb, so that's crazy. So
IMDb.
4,000 or 40,000?
I think there might have been about 58,000.
58,000? I must be.
58,000.
Yeah, 58,000.
Yeah, wow, I'm no good with numbers. The only sort of criticisms I could find, only sort of criticisms I could find around the film was that it was too good-hearted and it was too sweet. They were the only sort of negative things I could find about the film. So, yeah, that goes to the point that most people enjoyed it, I guess. And there aren't a lot of films, I guess, that are just a good story with very little sort of negative subplots and things like that.
It's got a happy ending, and
I actually think it had some really nice messages for that sort of young teen audience as well. It didn't.
Yeah.
It remained responsible with who they're trying to target.
Agreed.
Yeah,
and that was done through.
It was very well made.
That was done through a lot of dialogue from the dad at certain times, but we'll probably talk a little bit about some of those things.
So can I assume that neither of you guys have read the book?
Nope.
I've not read the book either.
Read the book.
I've not read the book either, but apparently very popular. There are a few differences though.
Yes.
And I'm assuming some of our listeners would have read the book, and
Probably.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the bugbears from audiences might be around things that
The changes.
what were the significant
Which is pretty
things?
general, I guess.
Yeah, it is if you love a book.
When books go to movies, there's always going to
My
be
wife
changes
is in that
you don't
boat.
like.
My wife loved the book, and she was a bit so-so. About the film, so.
wow.
I think one of the big changes that I saw was in the book, Kitty, the younger sister, she sends out the letters because she's mad at Laura Jean, not because she wants her to have a boyfriend. So she does it out of spite and anger.
Kitty was great. Loved Kitty.
Loved her.
Yeah.
He was great.
Okay. Box office. So it dropped in August 2018 on Netflix. This is one of the films in a while, I guess, that sort of was nominated for a few awards. Actually, won Kids' Choice Award in 2019 for the favourite male actor for Noah. How do you say his last name? Do you remember?
I just go with Noah.
You nailed it after the seventh
Centineo?
time.
No, I stuffed it up again.
Take your time.
Noah Centineo.
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 I need to syllablize it.
He was almost cast as Josh as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
A few questions about Josh. We'll get to that.
So it was nominated for favourite movie at the.
What did he
Teen
win?
Choice
Sorry,
Awards.
what did Noah win?
So he won the favourite male actor at the Kids' Choice Awards.
Not surprised.
Yeah, that sounds pretty right, doesn't it?
The movie was also nominated for favourite movie.
Yeah.
It was nominated for Best Music Supervision in a TV Movie for the Guild of Music Supervisors Award, and then nominated for Best Ensemble at the Joey Awards in Vancouver, and also a Contemporary Makeup Award as well. So had a heap of nominations so far, and I guess there's still a chance could even get a few more nominations for other things coming up as well.
True.
Am I going to give you a question without notice and asking who beat it for the favourite movie?
Didn't look up the Kids' Choice Awards. I am sorry.
Kids' Choice Awards 2019.
So it's a recent award. filmed in Vancouver,
Yeah.
British Columbia, and
Took about a month to film.
and a few scenes in Portland and Oregon as well. So
Yeah.
went over into the States.
I feel like we've had quite a few movies filmed in Canada. I guess to start the Netflix films.
I think they get a good tax rebate for filming in certain areas of Canada. And I think they've got a good setup there as well. I know Star Trek Discovery, which Netflix helps fund as well. There was this outrage when it was released that they weren't filming it on CBS Paramount lot in America, but it was just so much cheaper for them to take it north of the border.
Okay.
Yeah. So other than that, are there any other sort of things that we can see? Any connections to any other films? There was one other scene where the sister was on. She was on her MacBook, sitting there trying to Skype her sister, and the big Apple logo was on there.
I was going to ask you how you felt about the when they're watching Golden Girls. Or whatever it was.
I've got that.
Yeah, your favourite actress.
How do you feel about them watching it on the laptop? I thought that was very much like...
It's modern.
I know,
That's
I
how
like
people-
that's what I thought as well. I'm like, very modern, very much... we are obviously talking about a streaming product that we're watching.
So...
Best movie, by the way, it was Avengers: Infinity War.
Infinity War.
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's fair loss.
I'll give it to that.
You can tell it took me a long time to find out.
So characters, let's talk about some characters while we're at it.
All right.
Hit us up, Heath. Hit us up with some what you liked about, what didn't like about some characters.
Love the dad.
Agreed, and he
was
such a good
fantastic.
job. That was really clever.
Yeah.
Really good casting. Really good. I love the fact that it was just a light, fun relationship.
Yeah.
But he was still like, I'm your
He
dad.
still had the good messages and stuff. He still kind of told him about the responsibility we needed to, but he was, they're having fun with him. And, obviously, he's the father of 3 daughters on his own. So it's going to be a tough relationship. But I thought, that was a great character and great role for John Corbett. I thought he did really well.
And him and Lara Jean together had really good chemistry as
Yeah.
well. Really good father-daughter chemistry. Probably like the two scenes that spring to mind is when he's kind of eavesdropping on the stairs, and he just literally says like, "I've never seen you this happy." Simple as that. Like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And obviously the other one where he takes her to the cafe. I like the way, because that's a tricky situation, and in so many films where there's like a teenage girl having a crisis.
Yeah.
They never turn to their parents, and you kind of...
Especially with their dad.
Yeah, exactly
well.
right.
Yeah.
So it was nice to have that safety net there. Maybe it did feel a bit safe, but I really enjoyed that. It was a really nice relationship they had.
Any other ones that would you like?
I'll keep going if you like.
Yeah, go for it.
Anna Cathcart, who played Kitty, I thought she was great. I thought she was very funny. She was actually one of my favourite parts of the movie.
Okay, so...
And you didn't like her. I can tell by the way you're looking at me.
It's not that I didn't like... So I thought all the characters were really fleshed out, and I thought all the characters were really good, except Jen, the sort of bad girl villain.
Oh, yeah.
So that did my head in, because...
I hated her.
All the...
It's supposed to.
Like, every character was this nice character that sort of progressed or changed a little bit over the film, whereas she just remained nasty and bitter the whole time, and I didn't like that. I thought that for this film and the overall feeling of it, you needed change in everyone. So it would have been nice for her at the end to sort of just
Her very
acknowledge...
last scene, Jesse.
You're talking about Jen?
Yeah, her very last scene, she basically said, like, everyone's not as tough as you think they am.
Yeah.
Like, even me. What'd she say? Everyone is going through their own battle, and she walks out without trying to pick a fight.
But that's in the bathroom, yeah?
Yeah.
So prior to that, she just said, I didn't put that video online, but I'm glad someone did.
Yeah.
If that's the final scene saying that this chick's changed...
But were you expecting her to back down and say everyone's going through their own battle?
Yeah, and like, sorry that wasn't me. I'm sorry that was put online. And then that would have been like a full circle for her as well.
Did everyone need to make a full circle? I would argue that Lara Jean doesn't make a full circle, but has an awesome character arc.
Oh, I reckon she gets there in the end. But
So
So did you like Kitty though?
Okay, so Kitty, I didn't hate her character, but I just didn't like the dialogue and the comic relief that they tried to use her for, because I didn't find her comic relief funny or necessary.
Okay.
It didn't feel like it really broke up the awkwardness in situations.
I found it funny.
So
I liked it.
It was definitely a deliberate ploy, wasn't it, for him to just remember we're watching something that's light and funny, because every now and then she'd come over dog down.
And it was like
See, it was funny.
See?
no, it was like this. She was put in as a character who was supposed to be this kid that didn't know anything, didn't understand anything was going on, and the first sort of time that you see that is when they're at the airport saying goodbye to Margot, And Kitty literally says like, oh, do you think that she's going to turn around? And then
that's not Margot.
Yeah, that's not Margot. Straight down, like, you don't know your sister. Like straight away, it's like you don't know anything that's going on. And then like the helmet in the car, like I didn't find that funny. No, okay.
I'm glad that you're laughing at this. I was worried about you more than Jesse.
I found that
the helmet in the car is down as my favourite scenes. They were fantastic.
And
good. This is good.
The conversation she had with the dad about menstruation and stuff, I was like, it just didn't run with the flow. And I know that he was a gynecologist, and but I was just like, oh, that wasn't really needed. And then, the big blow up at the end where everyone's outside and everyone cracks it that you like Josh and you like whoever. And then she's like, well, I guess I'll just order some pizza. I was like, oh.
But that was, as I said, that happened. Like that was one of the notes that I made about the director. Is that so many scenes ended. I actually wrote, I guess I'll order a pizza. So many scenes ended with a little quip, whether it was Kitty or whether it was someone else. And I think that was his way of saying that, this is still a light rom-com. We're gonna slowly dip our toes into some really serious issues for teenagers and what's important to them. But we're gonna have fun with it.
I feel like it makes it more impactful if you just leave the scene like that and then fade out rather than try to make a comic relief.
I think the tone of the film changes if you do that.
Yeah, I thought the comic relief
I get
worked.
that, but you can't. Life's not just all happy the whole time. You've got to have those downs every now and then. And to me, to have those downs, you remove those little quips from Kitty.
Sure.
Anyway,
I think it's a different film if you do that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But maybe that's just I don't know, to me, to develop the film a bit more and give it a bit more oomph.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Lana Condor, who played Regine. I thought she was fantastic. I think that's the first time I'd ever seen her acting. I thought she did a great performance.
Yeah. I think she was really funny, really endearing. I think she was incredibly relatable for teenagers or young adults, and honestly, not just for girls. Like, I know a lot of the themes that, like I'm crushing hard on this guy, but there's so many things that she went through that guys in high school would have gone through or are going through in terms of just fitting in socially and what do you think when you like this person or that person. And I just love how relatable she was. It was awesome.
I thought she also had really good chemistry with a lot of her co-stars as well.
Couldn't agree more.
I thought it was cast really well. Like, there wasn't really anyone that was like, you weren't really made for that role. They did a good job.
Can I put one in there that wasn't cast well?
Yes, do it.
Margot.
Okay, why?
Because when she came on screen, I thought she was their mother. I just thought she looked so much older than the rest of them. I had a look. So she's 9 years older than Lara Jean. I think when it comes out, she's 30 playing an 18-year-old, which often happens in movies. But when I was looking at her, I just thought she looked so much older. And I really did think she was her mother before you find out as her sister. I went, wow, no, she's really old.
I think that's good casting, though, because that was her role in the house, was that she was the mother and then she was leaving. So it was like to Lara Jean, now you're the mother.
Incredibly.
You need to look after Kitty.
You know what? It took me 2 watches to really figure that out as well. Because I think one of the first things I was thinking was they keep referencing Lara Jean's mother, right? And I can understand for her character, it's a really important part of her story that her mother's passed away. She doesn't have a mother. She grows up with a single dad and her sisters. But I was also thinking, but why do they keep referencing it? Nothing comes about with it. There's nothing that changes with it. But I think I figured out sort of more after watching it the second time is that Margot really is that maternal figure to her, and her leaving the house in the first place, this is where Lara Jean gets the chance to grow, gets the chance to come out of her shell, gets the chance to be someone and stop living in her little fairy tale, which obviously fairy tale is all about this whole film. And I think I noticed near the end when she has a hoo-ha with Peter and she comes home and she sees a photo of her mother on the wall. And then the next minute you realise that Margot's there and Margot comes down the stairs, and that was almost just like a slap in the face of, this is my maternal figure. Yeah, you still need your maternal figure, but it was her leaving that gave her the chance to grow in the first place.
And her leaving, things went really bad for her. Kitty may not have, it's the whole focus of, doing that goodwill throwout. That gave an excuse for, I know in the end it wasn't how the letters got thrown out, but that's the whole process of Kitty doesn't have a responsible adult to say, hey, how can we help your sister, because the older sister's gone.
So to my point about Lara Jean not being fully developed from a character, she doesn't come full circle, and there's probably two, and I prefer that she doesn't, because it's a little bit too Disney princess kind of setup. There's two reasons that I think this right at the end, and when she's chatting with Josh at the end, and she kind of says about with Peter, if I admit it wasn't real, then I haven't really lost him. It takes Josh to push her initially to be like, no, you need to go do this. Because you get the feeling if she's not getting pushed and prodded by the right people, she's still going to probably, float back into being a bit more closed off. So it's Josh initially that gets her to jump in the car, which again is probably like a big thing for her that I think she says when she gets to Peter at the end, like, I drove here. and then she says, okay, bye, and walks off. And again, it's Peter who just gives her that last little prod, the last little nudge to sort of say, no, what have you got to say? And I think it's okay that you need those people. And I like that message that you need those people to keep pushing you along. You're not on your own. It's not going to be easy all the time, but it does get better.
I thought that to me that closing scene was evidence of her coming full circle, because the opening scene was literally that fairy tale like scenario where she's in that dream from that book that she's read. She didn't write it. The book she was reading, The Forbidden Kiss, and you had her in this red outfit and the boy was in the blue, so it's like these really, symbolic, stereotypical colours of love and lust and those sorts of things, and and then at the end she makes that comment that I was finally in love in a field. It wasn't the field in the opening scene, but it was a field of a lacrosse field. And I thought that, she asked about the contract. What sort of contract do we need for an actual relationship? And it was like, nothing, you just need trust. And she was like, okay, cool, let's go with the flow.
So I agree with you. I agree that I think that was all done really well, but I like the fact that it wasn't easy and perfect for her to still get to that point. And
no, not at all. Like, she needed multiple people to push her along the way. Yeah. That was the whole thing. Was like,
but I think the message is that you're going to continue to need people to push you. And I liked that.
Yeah. And exactly. The dad takes over making the desserts, whatever she's making, says, go out, you need to go out. Yeah. Kitty
is champion, isn't
gives the letters out.
Exactly.
Josh tells her
she's
to do
always
this.
getting pushed.
Other people are pushing her.
But she'll, and she's also the one that's going out and doing it as well. So Lucas tells her to get in the spa.
Her friend Chris, she put her in to go on the ski trip, thinking she wasn't going to come. She goes, no, I'm coming on the ski trip for you. So everyone sort of pushed her along a bit. But to me, that was her learning and taking on everyone to come to where she was at the end. Yeah.
I get the feeling that, from what I can gather, that Chris in the books is very much a minor role and not that really close friend who's just always there for her. That was probably one thing that I read about, that it's changed a little bit, because I thought she was a really good character.
She was good, yeah.
I thought when she rocked up to the ski trip and she sort of like was a bit seedy because she'd been at a EDM, I was like, compared to XOXO, it's a completely different type of character that we see going to these raves. But that was just if you haven't listened to our episode on XOXO,
to be honest, I reckon the To All the Boys I Loved Before audience might not mind XOXO. So if you are, if you got Netflix at home, you're already paying for it. So
and then go back and listen to our episode. That's true. What else? Any other characters? Anything else that we
down the fairy tale theme, I thought that Lucas was like this fairy godmother. Every time he was in a scene was purely to just be like, you can do this, or like, I'm here for you. And I liked that. I thought it was really cool. And I think so many parts of this kept that fairy tale part of it. I like the fact that they didn't shy away from that, because this is a story that's been done a million times, right?
I really liked the wallpaper in her bedroom behind her bed. It was like that sort of fantasy, like stars and all that sort of stuff. And there were lots of times where she was sitting on the end of the bed or she's in her room. And, there was a scene near the end where Margot goes to her. She goes, I want you to admit that it's not nice just to live in a fantasy. And, you've got that background. So it's like, her room's that where she has those like she keeps imagining the boys on either side of her, or they're talking to her in her room. So it's time to break out of that room. So I thought that was cool.
And she does it at the end. Did you find it weird when they were just watching her clean the room?
Yeah.
And she kind of didn't react to them.
That was a bit weird. Any other characters?
No, I think we've done well with it.
The actor, the directors. I haven't seen any of the directors' other work. This is only a second feature, I think.
Yeah, second feature. She done 3 shorts, I think.
Yep, Susan Johnson.
Yeah.
Carrie Pilby was her first feature. Haven't seen that one. Haven't even heard of it.
So, me neither.
So I might need to check it out. Any other actors that we could see filling in these roles? I'm going to start off, and I'm not going to suggest anyone because I don't want to be in trouble with any of the listeners.
But I think we spoke that we think they know
it well.
They really
And
did.
if you say Noah Centineo was no good for this role, I reckon we get our heads bitten off.
Yeah, because I think Netflix thought he was pretty good.
He was good.
They gave him a few other roles.
He did a very good. Yeah,
He was good.
He's kind of that the dreamy high school guy that pretty typical.
But down to earth,
guy.
and he opened up to her, and he was almost too good to be true.
Yeah.
I actually looked up. He's got this scar on his face. I don't know if you noticed, if you see, he's got this scar on his face, and I don't know why, but I was looking it up, and apparently when he was a kid, he got bitten by a dog or something, so that's why he's got this scar on his face. Yeah.
So,
I'm sure all our listeners that will know that already anyway.
Badass. Should have made a better story though.
Should have. All right, let's talk about some scenes. Some specific scenes.
I loved the very first, not the fairy tale scene, but the very first time you're introduced to the whole family, and it's just it's really quick. You meet all the characters really quickly, but it's very informative. You find out that Margot's going to go overseas, but you understand the entire family dynamic. That Kitty is kind of going to be the comic relief and tries to break the tension. The dad's very much let's go with the flow. I want to have a good time. Lara Jean's very insecure, and Margot's a go-getter. The whole Josh thing, it's funny because he doesn't fit in at all from the get-go, right? Like, it feels like, where does this guy fit in? And the whole time I was like, how old is Josh? Because he's the same age as Lara Jean, right?
True, and he was going
out with Margot, and it never quite...
He was probably 2 years older, I think.
Yeah.
It was portrayed as that it was a 2-year age difference.
That always felt like a weird... And obviously the relationship never happens during the film. It's prior to the film beginning. It doesn't quite fit with me. But anyway, that first scene was a really great way, and like all of a sudden you've watched 3 minutes of the movie and you're like, I get it, I'm in, let's do it.
Yep. I've said before, I like the opening and closing scenes, like that field of desire, sort of coming full circle. I really liked everything where they subtly put in this Korean culture stuff. I really liked, the start that Dad's cooking a Korean dish and the kids are having a laugh about, Dad's cooking.
You've got to take a bite and say, it tastes as good as Mum's or something like that,
But that was funny when she said that, like to break the tension.
Yeah.
Still, it's like good that, that they've got this white dad who's happy to do that. And, we spoke about the Yakult, the cult. And then when they go to the ski resort, she's got the Korean eye masks on with Lucas. And I really liked the shutdown of the Long Dong Duck character from 16 Candles when they're sitting there.
Yeah.
Like, that's a racist.
He's really racist, isn't he?
And I just left it and moved on. I was like, perfect, that was
Good.
great. I really thought that was good.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Kitty, there was some scenes there where she had this T-shirt on that said girl power, and I thought that was cool because she had this necklace on the whole time that said feminist. So I was like, that's a nice little way of having these strong female characters and not jamming it down your throat. And it's just this subtle little thing. It's like, yes, that is
Especially for
really
a girl
cool.
who's playing 10, 11-year-old. Pretty cool. I like the way they did that.
I also like the scene on the running track where Peter comes up with a letter and she sort of freaks out and sort of collapses. I thought that was really well done, like the camera movement and then sort of going back to the spin the bottle scene, and I just thought that was really well done.
It was good.
I can't watch a running scene at a high school without thinking of Superbad when Jonah Hill runs.
Yeah.
And last thing I liked was there's a conversation between Peter and Lara Jean. They had that awkward dinner at Peter's mum, and they made some comment about not her mum, and she's like, I don't have a mum, and then they sort of spoke together about their loss and how they deal with their loss.
That was really nice. You know what?
Yeah, that was a really good scene. That was a really touching
The
scene.
Peter and Lara Jean scenes where they were chatting together were really, really good. I mean, we've watched some films recently on Netflix where there's just been no chemistry between both characters.
Yeah.
Man, there was a hell of a lot of chemistry.
There was a lot of
between these two.
chemistry,
That scene, and then the other one where they went to the cafe after the party. I love the fact that initially Lara Jean, that was probably my favourite scene, I'll preface it, where Lara Jean sort of gets up and is like, oh, so you're still texting Jen. In any other film, she'd get up in a huff and they'd be like, oh, here's the first conflict between the couple. And then it gets to the point where they keep sort of unpacking each other's character, and then Peter kind of gets lost in the moment, and he's like, oh, so why'd you go for me? And she's like, oh, because we're just pretending. Yeah. And then he's, and then he's kind of the one that's offended. I love the ebb and flow between those two, that they highlight their chemistry, they built that emotional connection to them as a couple, but also to you as an audience member.
Yeah, no matter how offended he got as well, like he never gave up or changed or became angry. He's like, I just got to keep.
He's a dreamboat, mate.
It was just a really good, genuine guy. Like
he really was.
He was really
a good
caring,
guy.
and he was just a good guy.
Still had that jock status where he just told the whole corridor, "Oh, you stop picking on Lara Jean." I'm like, this guy, tell you what.
But he was happy on the bus for them all to cheer and rant.
Yeah.
Yeah, he kind of got called out a bit to make him do that. Yeah, to make him say that in the corridor.
This is prior to him going to Jen's room and breaking up with her. So
and he didn't even LJ didn't even give him the opportunity to explain
that
what
was
he was
classic.
doing.
Just let me explain. No.
Yeah.
Like, I bet you if you explain right now, the movie will end in 5 minutes.
Got another 20 minutes to go. Anything else that stood out?
Oh, I said before, I love the running joke of Kitty wearing the bike helmet in the car. That was fantastic. And I think when Josh at one point is kind of coming to the house and Lara Jean wants to get away and she climbs out a window and then falls and rolls off the roof. Fantastic.
Did she go out the front though? Because it looks like she goes out like the back window.
I don't know. She rolls off the roof. It's just hilarious.
Rolls off the roof and it's like the front of the house, which is where Josh was at the door. But no one was there. I agree. Cool
I'm not
scene.
sure, but if someone rolls off a roof, it's funny. And I'm sure my other favourite was there was a Fight Club reference in this movie. So that's always good with me.
Can't talk about
More than one.
Yeah. MJ?
Nah, look, I think we've spoken about there's a lot of good stuff in this film, but those scenes with Peter and LJ, best ones.
All right, let's talk about some things that weren't so great. I don't have a lot. I've got a couple though. So this is the first This is the first Flix Forum movie that my wife's actually sat and watched with me. This is her second time watching it. My first time. And when they're at the airport saying goodbye to Margot, she goes, "It looks like they're in an art gallery, not an airport." And I was like, I'm writing that down in my notes. Because literally it was the worst airport set I've seen in my life.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It was so bad.
That's a good point.
That was really bad. In the library, and like she's in this LJ's in this part where she's really down and out, and she's like goes to eat her lunch by herself, and there's this sign on the wall that says soft foods only.
That was a joke.
I didn't find that funny.
That was a joke. That was alright.
How's that funny?
Because like,
what library do you go to where you can eat anyway?
Schools.
No.
But I just love the fact that it was like, it was almost just like saying you can't crunch food or something.
Yeah. It was a bit of a corny joke. It was a bit.
So it wasn't funny. Good. I'm glad we agree.
I didn't think it was funny, no, but yeah.
So you mentioned before, they had that Golden Girls segment, and I was like, okay, that was the one time I had to pause it, and I was like, I need to go back and work out what they're talking about. So the reason they were playing it was obviously because Josh did an impersonation of Blanche, one of the characters on there, and that's what they reminded them of Josh. So I liked that reference, and the 16 Candles and Fight Club references I think we liked as well, but to me those references don't fit with the target audience of this film. They're like more the authors, like that's when the author was growing up, and it didn't really fit with the Instagram and the Skype and that, because I felt like they needed to pick some films or TV shows that are more relevant to these people watching it.
I would have thought the target audience of this film wouldn't have seen Fight Club.
Yeah,
but,
exactly.
So,
or Golden Girls. Like seriously, what?
Well, not Golden Girls. 16 Candles, maybe.
I was going to say the 16 Candles thing. I get the fact that Lara Jean was a bit of a, she's a bit more of a dag, and I can understand her being a big John Hughes fan and that kind of thing. That felt okay. Fight Club was almost just like, I'm a man. I'm a man. Like Fight Club. And I think they work enough, but it's a bit of a stretch. I'm sure. You know what? We should ask. We asked quite a few questions on our social media platforms about the films we've watched, and we're going to ask our audience this week if they are in that age demo for this film, what your relationship are with those two films, and whether you thought it was a good fit or not.
Because to me, if you're the target audience for this film, maybe Breakfast Club's more a John Hughes film that they may be more
just a bigger film.
Yeah, bigger film.
Yeah.
But maybe they picked that so that they could have that that racist stereotype and then tie that in as well. So maybe it was a joint thing. Yep. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that 16 Candles would be more. I think is more appropriate for this kind of audience compared to Breakfast Club. So yeah.
But then Fight Club.
No.
But that's what
I enjoyed it. So
everyone knows Fight Club.
Yeah.
Whether you've seen it or not. You know it's
yeah. You know what Fight Club is.
You can't talk about it.
Another thing that sort of annoyed me was when Lara Jean discovers that green box has disappeared. I really didn't like how they had Kitty sitting in the foreground, and she's just got this look on her face.
They
like,
made it
I'm
too
guilty.
obvious.
It was way too
Yeah.
obvious.
Way
It was
too
like,
obvious.
she's done it. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's too obvious.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I think that
I
made me
agree.
the first time.
Yeah.
Glossed over the second time.
I thought the whole contract thing was a little bit weird about, we're going to pretend that we're going out, but I'm not, yeah. And, this is what we need to do and this is where it's going to end and it's going to be at the ski trip and it's like we're setting out all these plot points. But I did like that it was her taking control of the things that are important to her. So, like, she's like, I don't want my first kiss to, just be this.
Yeah.
I want it. So, although I didn't like the contract idea, I did like that it was used to give her the opportunity to be in control and say, this is how I want it to happen and this is how it should happen, not because you're using me or, yeah.
The whole thing was very high school young love, though. The contract with the girl being like, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this properly and I'm going to take that control. And the guy like, yeah, whatever. Like, I'm in, so you just do what you want to do.
Yeah. Cool. That's all I got.
I didn't love when when she reverses into him in the car and it was meant to be that awkward meet cute, even though they knew each other, but
Yeah.
I think they forced that meet cute a little bit too much, and I think the next one where they're in the cafe was much better, and you needed something before that.
And that car scene, that's another bit where Kitty did my head in too, because she goes, "Oh, who's that?" It's like, well, as an audience, we already know who it is. We don't need to know that you need to know who it is.
Yeah.
Actually, that reminds me of another thing. The one thing that really bothered me was with Peter and Josh and Lucas. She kind of explained the letter situation, but none of them asked, and she never said that she didn't mean to send the letters out.
Yeah.
So these guys are like, oh, thanks for the letter. She's like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. But the first thing I'd be like, then why'd you give it to me?
Yeah.
Or who gave it to me?
Yeah, it was just
No
kind of
way
like,
she-
they just kind of accepted it and
She's
moved
like, oh,
on.
yeah, I wrote it years ago.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter. And I'd be like, well, why have I got it now?
Yeah, like,
That never
what's
came
going
up.
on?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I needed that context.
Yeah,
If you
that
write me a
wasn't
letter,
fleshed out
Lara and
too well.
Jean, I need some context around when you wrote it and why you wrote it and what state of mind you're in right now.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to write me one.
All right.
The porch scene when Margot's kind of come home and Laura Jean and Peter have that fight and then Josh kind of comes up to defend. A little creepy from Josh just to kind of stalk up kind of behind him and do that. Thought that was a bit creepy. And then Peter kind of has Josh has a go at Peter, saying, all these things to him and stuff. And I guess I just didn't kind of believe Peter to just stand there and take it. I thought, there should be some kind of physical altercation. Not necessarily comes up and punches him, but, he gets in his face or he pushes him or even just says something back to him. It just didn't seem right that he just allowed Josh to just say these things
That's
and then
not his
just...
I was
character.
going to say,
Yeah,
would have changed it if he
would have changed, but I mean, I guess he's still that kind of jock guy. I guess it still took, I think, Josh to call him out.
Plays lacrosse. He's a
Yeah,
jock.
he's a jock.
He took the moral high ground so well there.
Yeah, but yeah, I would have rather he'd done something.
I think the only reason that they brought Josh into that scene was so that then Margot could hear the conversation that happened, rather than him being there to have a go at Peter.
Still creepy for him to walk out
Yeah,
there like that. That was strange.
I was actually really happy when Peter didn't react, didn't retaliate, and just walked away, because then it made the next confrontation's probably the wrong word. The next time he spoke to Lara Jean,
Is that in
a
the
lot
corridor
better
at school?
Yeah. So if he had blown up, then that next scene's a whole different story. So.
She wouldn't have been as willing to be like, oh, you just offended me.
Yeah, then you got a whole nother thing to be sorry for.
All right. What are some themes that we've spoken a lot about these themes already as we've been talking. So I think one of the big ones that stood out was this question of identity. Like the whole film, it's her trying to work out who she is, like self discovery and trying to be someone she's not. And they said trying to be someone you're not is never going to work. And I feel like by the end, she's probably worked that out, that she's been able to say, hey, I need to stop having this fake relationship. I'm happy to have a real relationship.
That's the thing. She wants every part of her life to be that fantasy.
Yeah.
And this is like the really rough but rewarding journey that steps out into the real world without losing sight of who you are. And it's a really fun journey. I think that the scene with her dad where he's like, I've never seen you so happy, is such a nice just checkpoint to say, hey, this is working. Like, you might be tough at times, but it's much better than reading a book or, pretending someone's there when they're not.
Yeah.
All about coming of age.
There was this thing too about this invisibility. Like she made comments throughout about I used to be invisible, but now people are looking at me, talking about me, and it's this thing about sort of, and that ties in as well, opening up, becoming who you are.
Yeah.
High school, man, that's what it's like.
It's also maybe one of the more subtle themes was the dangers of social media, especially in that high school. she's kissing him in the hot tub. It gets filmed. It gets passed around the school. Everyone thinks it's a sex tape. That kind of thing gets out. I think it's a real good message.
The way they dealt with that annoyed me a little bit. Like, it was just like, the sister's like, I emailed Instagram and told them that it's child porn, so they're taking it down.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, it's a lot more like that was just too simple a resolution.
But you know what? It's not a bad lesson if that does happen to you. I'm sure that's a good starting point.
Yeah, definitely. There's lots of processes to go through, but yeah, definitely. I just thought it was like one line to like solve it. There's sort of that underlying thing as well of dealing with loss and abandonment, like
massively.
So her mum was dead, Peter's dad had walked out, and both of them were like worried about letting people in because of the fear of being left behind. And I really liked it at the end where the dad sort of recognised when they sit down in the cafe and they play that song, Everybody Wants to Rule the World.
That was nice.
That was nice, and it was nice where he's like, he said, acknowledged, I've relied on my daughters too much.
Yeah.
I haven't been the father and let you guys, have this, worry about having to step up for your mum and that sort of stuff. I really like that.
Even when I think one of them said, like, I really want to talk about mum more often, but like I know I can't. Like, it's too hard. And
yeah,
it's a really nice realization.
Yeah. All right. What do we take away from the film?
So one of the things I loved, which is bleedingly obvious when you watch it, is that so many of the shots have that central framing, right? So you've got the character looking dead bang in the middle of the screen, and I felt like it kind of had a dual. It worked in two ways where it was used, I think, generally almost like from a humour, lighthearted perspective, which is something that Wes Anderson does in almost every movie he does. It adds that like dorkiness of it, but I also think it generally when you're doing those shots, it's done to break the fourth wall because someone's talking to camera, like a House of Cards or Lemony Snicket's, all that kind of thing. But in this case, they're obviously not breaking the fourth wall, but I think it makes it a lot easier to engage with the characters because you feel like they're talking at me, I'm listening to everything they're saying. But if you watch the film again, you notice it so clearly that every time you've got characters talking, they're framed directly in the middle of the screen, which it just doesn't happen in films. And I thought it was a really nice technique.
It's part of that eye maneuvers that Noah Centineo does. It's like he's staring at you.
It is, yeah. So you listen more, and I think that's another reason why I thought the dialogue was so good. I thought the dialogue in this was really good. It helped tell a really clear story. The audience never got lost, but I think it's because they were talking to me the whole time.
Yeah. It was a nice little film. It had a nice little message. Perfect for Netflix.
Yeah,
perfect for Netflix. Like you said before, you get these repeat rewatches. Like, you can't see people going back to the cinema to pay multiple times to see it. Whereas at home, comfort of the couch, I can just put this on multiple times.
I think Netflix, this is the 103rd Netflix film. I think they figured it out with this and The Kissing Booth that we spoke about earlier and Sarah Burgess is a Loser. All came around about the same time that this rom-com setup is a real winner for the streaming product. And
they've done it again with The Perfect Date with the same Centineo guy as well.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of it. It's the slumber party movie, right? Like if you're 14 years old and you got the girls coming
exactly.
over.
That's exactly what it is.
I've got that in my notes. A slumber party with a bunch of friends.
I'm pretty sure I watched Twilight with a bunch of guys at a sleepover one night.
I think I went to the midnight screening.
You know what? I went to the last one, the midnight screening. I was at the midnight screening for the last one, and it says like Taylor Lautner's name comes up, and half the audience starts cheering, and then it says Robert Pattinson, and the other half of the audience starts cheering. I'm like, where am I? What is going on here?
Wow.
Oh man,
crazy.
IMDb.
I didn't use it.
Didn't use it? I didn't either.
My one was when I jumped on when I saw Margot to see how old she was, because I just thought she looked a lot older than what her sisters were going to be.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the line where LJ finds out that Kitty sent the letters, and Margot says like her heart was in the right place, and she says her heart was in the right place, but her face will be in the wrong place. I want to wind back a couple of episodes, and I really wish that was Kevin James saying that line.
That would have fit. That really would have fit in True Memoirs.
I got some questions.
Me too.
So Lara Jane, she used these letters to express her feelings, and it was her way of dealing with her crushes. Yeah, and the authors of the book said this is what she did in real life.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the whole letter situation felt a bit weird compared to everything else that was in the film, because they talk about Etsy, they talk about Instagram. There's a photo that's uploaded with her and Peter tags her as Bae. He talks about drinking kombucha, Skype. They've got the screensaver photos with each other. It's like this really online, digital sort of world. Surely kids these days don't write...
Type them up?
Yeah, put them in their notes or send a Snapchat or something like that.
Yeah, but he wrote the love letters to her as well.
He did them on like a little sticky note sort of thing. Like,
but it was still physical.
I get that. Well, do people still write love letters?
That's our second question for the week. No, but it's just a romantic thing, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just to me, it just felt it's completely different. You got these love letters, and you've got them so enshrined in this technological world. It's like
differently.
Yeah. It might have been like
we released a bunch of
Snapchats or tweets or something. Yeah, I don't know. That was just something that I was like confused.
Her video diary on Instagram story.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Was there ever any doubt that Lara Jean and Peter weren't going to be together?
No.
No.
None at all.
This movie needed that.
Really?
This is what the movie was.
Don't you have want to have those moments where you're on the edge of your seat and you're like, oh, they're going to end up together?
True. Okay, yeah. They could
It was very predictable, wasn't it?
Nothing really went wrong. Pretty great relationship.
Margot's reason for breaking up with Josh was that her mum told her before she died that she should never go to college with a boyfriend.
Margot was flaky as hell, though.
Yeah. I didn't think that was a good enough reason.
Nah.
Shocking reason.
Nah, awful.
But then, so when they're donating all the clothes, like Lara Jane made this comment about donating, recycling, throwing it away, and then she used it as like a spiteful comment against Margot to say like, I didn't realise she could do this with people as well.
Yeah.
So I thought that was...
That's showing that they're on a very different wavelength.
Yeah. I don't know. I just thought that was to give that as the reason for why she broke up with Josh. When we see these, these flashbacks of, her third wheeling and doing all these dates, it's like...
Yeah, I thought
and he bought a plane ticket to go to Scotland with her. So and she didn't feel bad about being like, oh, no, sorry, I don't like it.
If he's buying that, obviously, it's a pretty serious relationship as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty poor excuse.
She never seemed that invested though, did she?
No.
I got a real question for you guys.
Well, what, they're not real?
No, this is a real one. If you could choose between drinking only water for the rest of your life or drinking whatever you want but it has to have a drop of pee in it, what would you choose?
Drink whatever I want.
Water.
With a drop of pee
in it.
Yep, definitely.
You'd just go the water.
Well, it depends how dehydrated the pee is.
It's a drop of pee.
It's just a drop.
But like if you've got a Sprite and it turns yellow, then that's pee.
If you've got a glass of water, it might turn a bit yellow too.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good question.
No, it's not.
It's a good question. I don't think there's a right answer.
So you would give up beer, Jesse?
Oh, that's a tough one.
See?
But beer's made from water, so is it water-based drinks?
No, it's just
water.
Plain tap water.
It's a silly question. Like, I don't even know why we're debating this
I think it's a good one. I paused it.
What's your answer, MJ?
I think it's got to have a little bit of pee.
Yeah, it's got to be. It's got to be.
It can't be that bad for you.
No, I couldn't just drink water the rest of my life.
Yeah. Great question.
So there's the scene where she gets in the hot tub and she gets in her nightgown.
She does.
And then they're in there for a bit or whatever, and then they go back upstairs and she's lying in bed looking at the sky all happy, and she's in the nightgown and it's dry as. It was like... I don't know.
Was she still in the nightgown, was she?
Yeah, I think we missed the scene where she got like her hairdryer or something, and it wasn't a great continuation.
I was like, you just got in your full nightgown and you're lying in bed. Your sheets will be wet, your pillows wet.
She's on cloud 9. She doesn't care what she's wearing.
I got the sequel. Like, so we see that post sort of mini credit scene where that the John dude rocks up. Do we know anything about? Like, I haven't read the sequel. Do we know much about the sequel?
No. Sorry.
No, so if anyone's listening...
Want me to say?
Yeah.
All I read was that kind of he comes in and he causes like havoc in the relationship between Lara Jean and
Peter.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of all I've said. But yeah, so I think he now plays a major part, and yeah.
Because like I didn't know that there were... when I watched it, I didn't know they were books. And I just saw
neither, yeah.
I just saw that post-credit scene and saw Kitty answer the door, and I was like, this is a laugh at, haha, this guy's a bit awkward. I didn't realise that there's a whole other story.
That's what I thought as well. Yeah. I thought that was at the end. It's like, hang on, this is going to continue on.
But if you're that interested, books there, you could probably smash it out in a day or two.
I'm not that good a reader. Pass.
I thought, why address the letters? You're just asking for trouble. Like, she writes the letters. You just have the letters in a stack in that box. It's fine. Don't actually put them in the envelope and address them.
There is a bunch of 15-year-old girls right now saying, Heath, if you want to do this properly, you need to do it properly.
You're asking for trouble. It's so much easier for them to get out.
What did she say? At least I didn't put a stamp on it.
Yeah. Come on. That could have been done. It could have been... She could have solved all her problems by just not addressing them.
What do you think about the voiceover?
Like, voiceover's contentious, but I felt like that it wasn't used.
It wasn't
much in the
overused.
film. No,
Yeah,
I felt like that it was perfect. Like,
you were on her side, and that was okay.
Yeah. I didn't mind the cards throughout there, like with the update of the date or the months. I thought that was good as well to show us that time is progressing. It's not just all happening within a week. I thought that was good too, and it sort of gave you that, the ski trip's coming up in the back of your mind the whole time.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. All right. I think it's almost time for us to give our film rating. Where on our show we each rate the film out of 5. Hit us off. Give us your rating.
Well, I'm not the target audience of this film at
Really?
all, and this is really, obviously, this is not the kind of movie that I would normally watch. There were some funny moments in it that I laughed at. I thought it was a great performance from Lana Condor as well, as in the lead role, but overall, I didn't like the film, and it's pretty rubbish. I give it a 2.
I did not get that vibe from you from this whole conversation.
I tried to be positive about it,
You
but
were really positive.
I was, yes. I tried to be positive, but no, I didn't like the film.
I was like, all week I've been nervous about this film. I'm like, I just don't want Heath to use the word rubbish. He always uses the word rubbish. And then we're listening, I'm like, you know what? This is a breakthrough. Heath has enjoyed this film. And then you called it rubbish.
Sorry, I didn't.
2. Okay. MJ?
I'm thrown. I was like,
Do you want me to go?
I've been enjoying this. You go, Jesse.
All right, I'll go. Well, I came into this thinking I'm going to listen to what you say, MJ, because I was thinking maybe you can turn this a bit for me or bump my result up a little bit.
No, I'm not going to bump it up in 15 seconds after we've spoken for an hour.
No, well, we've spoken about it. I meant our discussion. I was like, I came in here going, okay, this is what I think I'm going to give it, and I was like, let's see if this conversation moves me a little bit. I mean, it's a nice little film, and to me, maybe it's just a little bit too nice. Like I spoke about before, there weren't enough downs or these sort of moments that need to be overcome. So while it's not relatable to me, I can sort of see why it's got such a big following and why it's got such a big fan base.
Yep.
So I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5.
So are you saying that? So why do you think I was gonna?
Well, I thought you might have pushed it up to 3 for me. I was
Okay.
like, you might have been able to do it because I had a feeling that you might.
I do have that effect sometimes. For me, despite the film being founded in cliches and ideas that have been done hundreds of times before, it was really hard not to enjoy. I felt connected enough to the themes and the characters, and the chemistry between the actors was bang on. It's fun, it's light, it certainly captures the thrill of a crush, but definitely highlights enough important themes to feel responsible to its target audience. This is 3 stars for me.
Very nice. So on our show, we add up our results and give it an average out of 5, and Hita's going to fill us in.
2.5 out of 5 is the average.
Good. So 2.5 out of 5. We have a strong social media presence, and based on this discussion today, we want to hear everything you've got to say about what we've said. Everything. We put a question up for the week. This question I've taken from some of the dialogue. So it's, you've got to tell people how you feel when it Sorry, I'll start again. You've got to tell people how you feel when you feel it. Is this easier said than done?
Oh, Jesse, of course it is. That's a difficult thing.
Oh, I don't know.
No, absolutely, I agree with MJ there. a lot easier said than done.
Okay, we'll see. Some people like to be blunt. And
True.
Yeah, they do.
some people like to be very blunt.
You know what? It really depends on the topic. I agree.
It does. So I'm looking forward to hearing what
Talking
people-
about films, we're pretty happy to tell you how we feel. Except for you. You hid that for 55 minutes, Heath.
So that'll be on our social media channels. We're at FlixForum on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. If you've enjoyed what we've said about films today, feel free to subscribe to us. We're covering Netflix films from release date in order. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, Google searches. You'll find us there as well. It's been a bit of fun, sort of covering a different, more recent movie, I guess.
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, we've done 20 odd films already, and this is nice to jump into one of the bigger films that Netflix has got. We know there's plenty more to come, but it was good to sort of skip the order and listen to the fans. And if there's any feedback that you guys have about what we do and what you want to hear from us, we are all ears.
Yeah. So good catch up.
Always good catch up.
Thanks, boys.
And thanks for listening.
Fun. Good night.
Cheers.